be going live in about 25 seconds. 24, 23, 22, 21, 9, 8. I think you were ahead.
Do you think? Should quit while you're ahead.
I don't know what's going on here. What's it say in the living room? Lucy's listening to it. Oh, goodness sakes.
Is there sound coming out? Is a speaker?
There it is. My daughter, she's got sick. Oh, she's listening to it.
She's like, Mom, Dad kicked me off.
Anyway, welcome in to
All guys and
He's Mike. We're the Two Ball Guys. Welcome in, of course, Two Ball Guys and Mike show here at 216 the Net. Three guys who just kind of give a crap about people and talk about ways that we approach life. And heck, if you think you need to make a change, just change the channel.
don't change.
But yeah, so we are continuing. We thought after the last show, it was such a good show on the mental detox or mental cleansing, right? We thought let's kind of keep going down that road. And then at the end of this big party, we'll have an announcement, I think, about the show that's gonna kind of be exciting.
Yeah, I didn't tell Mike. I told you in the green
room.
room.
To him too.
Yeah.
You're fired. Anyway. Anyway, Ted, how are you? How are you?
Hey,
how
Ted.
are you? Of course. So mental cleansing, we decided last week that mental cleansing was or was not a thing.
Was not a thing.
Right. Once it's in there, once it's on the tape, it's on the tape.
But then why do they call it brainwashing?
Mm.
You know?
Well, because it's on the tape, right?
Mm.
I mean, they're putting it in the tape. They're not washing, they're not scrubbing it. They're putting it in there.
And they're overwriting it.
And if you're on the East Coast, it's called brain washing.
Washing.
There you go. I'm going to call it mental reorganizing.
There it is.
That's what it is.
Compartmentalization.
Mental
Of
reorganizing.
the mental filing
reorganizing.
system. There's a lot of different directions we go with it, but I think one of the things we talked about is overloading the balance with positive information to kind of offset all the garbage that's going on. I mean,
So if you put enough frosting on your green beans, you won't taste the green beans.
Exactly.
I love the green beans.
I
Green
hate
beans are
green
good
beans.
for you.
I hate green beans. All right. So what's that mean in the world of what we talk? All three of us are fans, and we listen to a lot of motivational speakers. Coach, you do speaking tours.
I
You
have.
are one of those guys, right? And so, I mean, what's that? So we're all fans of it, but at some point, we're also like,
And sometimes, just like anything else, you can become used to, what's the word? You're desensitized to it. Sometimes I think if you hear it too much, it doesn't have the impact that it used to have. And you hear things over and over again. And, they recommend that if you're going into
just keep going.
affirmations, you need to say it 10,000 times before you start actually believing it. Well, I think around 3,000, you become immune to it and becomes just like a chance. I am good enough. I am smart enough. And doggone it, people like me.
Right.
I am good enough. And it just, it no longer resonates, and you need to hear it in a new way. It might be the same thing, but it's said in a different way. Now, I'm listening to a guy the other day, and the first time I ever heard somebody say this, you got to stop stalling on your calling. And I went, ooh, that's good.
You mean like dialing, or for what you're being called to do?
Stalling your calling. What is your calling?
Yeah.
Your calling is speaking, make a difference in people's life. The more your calling is, right now, at least, is in the world with athletics, but also completing your master's degree. Your calling, my calling is making a difference. But sometimes I get caught procrastinating. I'm sure you've never noticed that, but you got to stop stalling on your calling. And basically, he's addressing procrastination, but just doing it in a different way.
Mm.
Someone said you need to hear a thing 7 times from 7 different people in 7 different ways before it really starts to resonate.
Mm.
There was a guy out at one of our networking groups who wrote a book, and he was on a radio show a while back. And he basically echoed some of the greats. There's a lot of Ziegler in there. There's a lot of Tony Robbins in there, but he had his own book, but he was just echoing a lot of the other stuff. And it's good. It made sense. I needed to hear it again in a different way from a different voice. And it began to resonate.
Mm.
It's like going home, you hear you're in trouble from your mom, until you hear it from a different voice, your dad, you didn't really worry about it. Right. I mean, at least in my case.
All right. So when we're mental detoxing, or we're just putting powdered sugar on the poop, right? It's true.
I get that one out.
Why is it that? What is it about you? And let me ask you before I ask you. What is it about positive attitude people, motivational speakers? Does it charge you up when you hear stop stalling on your calling, quit your stinking thinking, everything has to rhyme,
get a checkup from the neck up,
everything has to rhyme? Do you go, ha, that makes sense, I'm glad they put it into a rhyme? Or are you like, I'm tired of everybody rhyming and scheming, and just talk to me? What fires you up?
It did. It's because, just like Coach said, it was like, the first few thousand times you hear it, at first it's like, it's really exciting. I mean, these guys are so positive, and you hear all this stuff, and like, nobody talks like that. Nobody I know in my family or my friends are that exciting. So then everybody's, after a while, it's like, it's all right. It's the same shit.
With a little
with a little powdered sugar.
Right now, I know why Coach is he's an award-winning poet, right? Did you know that about him?
I didn't know that.
Yeah,
actually.
award-winning poet. So I understand why he likes the cadence and the rhyming things, right? And it triggers with him. I listen. I don't like the rhyming and stuff like that.
Now you tell me.
But here's the interesting thing, is Lucy will listen. I listen to a lot of motivational speakers. It's what I do. I would rather flood my brain with positive things than to listen to the news or something like that. But the interesting thing is, Lucy, my 12-year-old, will be like, why do you listen to these guys who scream at you all the time, Dad? Right? Because I like E.T., Eric Thomas, and I like people who even Dr. Breakthrough. He's a rhymer a bit, but I mean, when they come with that passion, Les Brown is one of my absolute favorites. He doesn't rhyme all the time, but Les Brown is just his cadence and the passion that they put behind it. So it's interesting, the things that trigger people. So I think as we're talking about a mental detox, or sprinkling the powdered sugar on the poop, is you got to find that resonates with you and that hits you on your vibe level. I don't know.
Right.
That, I don't know if that's brainwashing. I don't know what that is, but sometimes I don't even hear what they're saying. I just know that there's a lot of passion and some cool music behind it, right? And I'm just like, God, this is great. This gets me fired up, right? But sometimes I'm like, man, there's a guy, and he's a brilliant speaker, and he just, I love listening to him talk. Whatever he's talking about, I could just be like, man, he's an engineer, and it's just, I don't know if it's the tone of his voice or just the way that he emphasizes things and just connects with people. I'm just like, man, I could hear Oren speak for days. Just like, oh man. And I don't necessarily agree with everything that he says, but I'm just like, yeah, I just like listen to him speak. Shayna, how are you?
It took you long enough, Shayna. Where have you been?
There's 2 t-shirt contenders for this week. Don't put powdered sugar on poop. Quit stalling your calling. 2 t-shirt contenders right out of the gate. Here we are.
Or maybe you should start stalling putting powdered sugar on your poop.
Right, that's it. So how do we move? Well,
have you guys ever thought you needed a mental detox? I know I need a mental break sometimes. I
Hmm.
don't know if I ever really saw it as a mental detox, but there are times where sometimes I think I get overly positive and overly optimistic.
No.
And
You?
uh, it gets shot down, and then I get hurt, and then it's like, oh, maybe I should stop being like this. And well, that's like a bald eagle trying to not
Yeah.
be bald anymore.
Yeah. What about you, Mike?
I think in my impulsiveness or whatever, I'd want a mental detox because I'd want to get out all the negative thinking. But I mean, in the long run, it's those negative things that you work through and that you build on that end up becoming more powerful in the end if you turn those things around. So
So you've needed a mental detox.
I wish many times, I could just get out all the crap that's in there. Sure.
So what do you do for that?
Cry.
Right.
Sometimes.
In the shower, crying good.
Some people saying Mike
You
cries.
know that's interesting. Never in my life have I ever said, "Man, I hate the way that I think."
Yeah.
Right?
Really?
Never.
That's a common thought.
Being the youngest of four boys, I've always been pretty. You got to try to keep up with your big brothers and competitive, and very confident. But I've never just gone. I've been through a lot in my life, but I've also had to sit with therapists like, the old question, have you ever had thoughts of killing yourself? I'm like, no, God, I love myself too much. I mean, I couldn't live without me, right? And so it always baffled me, and I never understood depression enough when I was younger to understand people were going through depression, but and their life ended from suicide. But the interesting thing is I've never just said, man, I wish I could erase everything out of there and just kind of get rid of some of this garbage. Now, again, let me help everybody understand. Again, middle class, white family, never needed anything, right? Never had want for anything. We were always pretty happy. We didn't live extravagantly, anything like that. We got new clothes for school, things like that. So it isn't. My mom and dad are still married today. They're in their 80s. They're still married today, and
we love our son. No,
yeah, and so I didn't grow up with an abusive or an alcoholic parent, so I had pretty much milk toast life, right? I mean, the quote unquote, American dream, right? So maybe your path is different, and I don't know, but I've never had that. Shayna says, would the Catholic confessional be a type of detox, perhaps, or more a soul car wash kind of thing? Now, for those Catholic people, Coach, you want to bring us up for the non-Catholic?
Well, confession is and can be very detoxing and cleansing for you. It depends on your belief system. Sometimes you get, why is the Catholic in the confessional? Well, because he's, declared himself guilty. So there's a two-way thing there. We probably have a lot more reasons to go into the what's it called? Confessional
booth.
It's called a confessional.
Whatever.
To unload a lot of the guilt that we've been feeling. Or there's a lot of others and other faith choices that are like, oh no, we got grace, we can do anything. And, I don't know, but it does have cleansing.
The funny thing is, Shayna, I think the confessional was derived in the late 1700s because priests, had that vow of chastity and poverty. So they created the confessional to live vicariously through their congregants.
I ignore him when he does.
Forgive me, Father, for I have sinned. I had sex with 3 married ladies this week. Go tell me more. Say 3 Hail Marys. Out you go. Yes, that's a great one, right? No, I don't know. For all of our Catholic priests out there, God love you, I'm sure. But
I can unshare it with Father Paul now.
yeah, I think he's still accepting his award at the gala. Never mind. That's a whole different thing too. Anyway, so it always reminds me of the old joke, where hey, altar boy, come in here. I've got diarrhea. I gotta go to the bathroom.
And now, thank you for being caught in the net right here in 21.6 high atop
What is
the Tunyon Towers.
All right, I don't know. We've gone off the track.
So this morning I'm working out.
No, that makes so much sense. It does. See, it does. It truly. They were stuck in the, in the rectory, and they wanted to see what life was like outside. So that was it.
That was it. There it is.
The coach is turning red. For those of you who can't see, the Catholic guy in the room is turning red.
Yeah, the Catholic guy is just fine because he considers the source.
So yeah, I've never thought. I just have never thought of cleansing or detoxing my mind. I mean, there are things, right? I've been held at gunpoint, car accidents, things like that, which are in there, right? Cracking my head open as a kid, things like that. You have those
Explains a lot. Mike.
You have those traumas in there that you can't erase, and sometimes they spring back up or whatever. You're like, right? But never would I, never would I ever want to go. I mean, you said it last week, right? You're the product of your mistakes,
right?
Right.
That's our best learning. As a coach, you never coach to lose,
right.
But when the team loses, you have a lot more to give the team the next week during practice, than when they win. You remember a movie, Coach Carter?
Yeah.
And when the team started, all of a sudden having success, and they're kind of taunting the other team a little bit, and Coach Carter comes out and he does a little rambling and stuff, and he goes, "What? You've won 4 games, and all of a sudden you have the right to celebrate, to taunt? You better think about where you came from."
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So what do you do? What do you guys do to replace the negative thoughts, or to replace the thoughts that you would like to, detox on a day-to-day basis? I mean, these are all struggles I think everybody does, but what do you guys do?
I've made reading a habit. I'm not a natural reader. I don't just like to read a book, but I've learned to read as part of a habit, because to me that's the only way to put new information in.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
So what kind of books? What are you reading?
I read a lot of Christian books. I read a lot of self-help books. I read informational books. I mean, things that are going to grow. I don't read any kind of.
You read David Goggins' Can't Hurt Me?
I've read that one. Yes,
I haven't read that yet.
Phenomenal,
Somebody suggested
phenomenal
that
book.
to me.
Yeah,
I want to read that.
Yep.
And then one this morning was Thirst. On Bill's show this morning.
Okay.
Brendan was talking about it. It's called Thirst by something Harrison. I forget the first name, but Eric Harrison maybe, but I don't know what it is. But Thirst, it said that's a good book too.
I'm reading one right now titled "The Way" by a guy named Caldarella, like Cinderella, but Caldarella, Andrew
Okay.
Caldarella.
Okay.
But he goes into, he's
Phil, how are you, buddy?
Hey, Phil. Good to see you. Got your.
No, I don't. Not today.
Oh.
I usually do have my Never Give Up on, but not today.
Got my Never Give Up. Probably need to get some more of those.
Yeah.
But he talks about the way, the true meaning of life. And I'm like, I finally found it all these years searching for it. And here it was in this book all the time.
Yeah.
But it is good. But
the one thing you turned me on to that.
Yeah.
That about 4 or 5 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
The One Thing. It's by what's his name, Keller, right?
Yeah.
And that's a really good book too. If you're really struggling or you want to figure out how to move forward, the one thing is a great book for that.
Interesting.
What about you? Are you a book reader? What do you do?
I read constantly, or a lot of times, when I'm working out, I got audiobooks or podcasts going on, just trying to feed in as much positive. When I can't get enough of that. Or sometimes you don't just get into it. I just put on some high energy country and get me through.
Yeah.
Play it backwards and watch a guy get his wife back.
On a quest for personal growth, Dana says, we make more than a few wrong moves, quote unquote. I think it's important to realign with what is important and move on. That's an emotional cleanse of sorts.
That's true. It's like that a mental GPS saying, make a legal U-turn.
Yeah. Phil's still recovering. Keep getting better. So let's
You're
go
in our
back.
prayers, buddy.
Let's go back here. So I think it's important to realign with what's important and move on. So yeah. So how do you do that though? How do you realign? Right. So every year I go out and spend 5 days in the woods with some buddies and whatnot. Right. And that's how I realign. So not whether something's going wrong or whatnot, but I think you should probably do it every quarter, if not every 6 months, is just get away, get away from everything, right. and just be.
Okay.
Right now we go up with friends, but I mean we call it man camp. The true thing is we enjoy it. We've been doing it now for 20 years. This will be the 20th year, but we enjoy it because when new people come up, we want to share that with new people. But they're excited because they're used to, hey, we've got to do this, we got to do this, we got to do this. And literally the three of us and sometimes four of us who were the original guys who started this 20 years ago basically just go and sit. And they're like, you guys didn't do anything. I know. That's the beauty of what this is.
Isn't it great?
It is great, right? And we kill brain cells. Don't kid yourself, right? I mean, we're up there. We eat good and we drink a lot. And, we kill a lot of brain cells, right? And but there's no judgment. There's no nothing. And we're the phones really don't work because of where we're at in the woods. You might get one bar if you're lucky, if you sit in the right spot and it's a full moon. But the truth is that realignment. I think if we were to realign when we're doing things right as well as when we're doing things wrong, because a lot of times we can do things right and we still stray from our purpose.
Lou Holtz, Notre Dame coach, South Carolina Gamecocks coach, motivational speaker, has a presentation called Win. What's important now? And he would ask his players to ask that question of themselves 35 to 50 times a day. Mm-hmm. When they're walking into the classroom, what's important now? When they're, going out with their friends, what's important now? And a lot of times if, you just ask that question, I taught my athletes, would you do this with your grandmother? Ask that question. Would I do this with my grandmother? Maybe you'll stay out of trouble, but
some people's grandmothers get them in trouble.
Realigning what's important now. What's important changes on a fairly regular basis on situations. But when you get down to your core values and you can stick to your core values, what's important now with regard to my core values, then you're gonna find a lot more happier, more positive things happening.
So is that how you detox then? Do you detox by saying, does this thought go with my core value? And if not, can I let it go?
Let it go. Let it. Oh,
I don't
stop. Let it go.
Right. And how do you let it go?
Right.
Right. So the hardest thing to do, right? So the hardest thing, and probably what keeps getting played over and over and over in a lot of people's minds are forgiveness.
Yep.
Right.
Wow. That's right.
So it's hard, so, oh yeah, I forgave him. Okay, great. I never see him again. Right. Out of sight, out of mind. But I never forgave myself, or I kept holding on to it for years and years and years and years and years. So let me give you an example if I can. So my grandfather had a bad hip, right? And of course, this was years ago. and was deathly scared of surgery. And of course, hip replacements back in the 80s and early 90s was not what it is today.
Yeah.
If you had your hip replaced, you were down and out for months at that time. So he learned to live with the pain, and he then ended up with a bit of a limp, and then it started wearing out his other hip, right? So I think as we talk about a mental detox, that forgiveness or whatever, you learn to live with that pain, and then it starts to create wear on a different part of your body, a different part of your soul, a different part of your being, a different part of your purpose.
Wow.
So how do you, I mean, so you have to be able to, you can be afraid of surgery, right?
But do it anyway.
But every time you could see he was in pain, whatever, but you'd ask him about it. I'm all right. Right. So how do you not live with the limp?
My dad had polio when he was a sophomore in high school. He lived with a limp his entire life.
Mm-hmm.
The time I was 5, I could beat him in a foot race, and I thought that was pretty cool at 5. But then I felt bad for him by the time I was.
Hey, Gary. Good morning.
Hey, Singapore is in the house. But I think we learned to deal with what's the hand that's dealt us.
Right.
But when we get too much stuff going on, you look at what's happened, and today's actually the anniversary of a friend of mine's death, Ken Cass. Ken Cass died a year ago today.
He used to get stoned with a lot of people.
Yeah, Ken had a granite marble company, and his tagline was, we'll get you stoned. And it's a funny guy, always teaching, always working to help people around him. Had a kidney transplant, infection from the kidney transplant. Year in a hospital during COVID, not able to be with his family, but always still positive whenever he was in the Zoom rooms or whatever. Right. Since then, I have lost 15 friends, including Uncle Pete here at the radio station. And you look at it and you think, do I have the right to be depressed? I'm still alive. I'm still moving. Things are going good. What can I do to get out of this? And a lot of, we've talked, you've been through it a little bit. When you're in a depression, you don't know how to get out of the depression, right? You need somebody, you need something in order to get through that. So a mental detox, everything, this brain is incredible. Everything that comes into it is stored and can be recalled. Or you said it earlier, it can be filed away in another part of the brain that we don't have access to anymore. Mm-hmm. But I don't think you can get rid of it.
Right.
You have to override it. You have to overcome it.
Mm-hmm.
How?
That's a great question for the psychology student in the room.
I think it's just a constant process of putting new information in. That's it. I mean, that's the only thing we can do is continue to provide our mind with new stuff, with better stuff, with positive stuff. That's it. There is no magical answer. I mean, that really is the only answer. And we want a magical answer. We want something that's going to fix it really quick and that's going to get rid of all the shit. But we have to deal with the stuff the negative crap that we have in there. I mean, it's always going to be there, and we just have to continue to put new stuff in and to build on that.
Quit stalling on your calling.
That's it. That's it.
Amen.
Get a checkup from the neck up.
Right.
Yeah, Gary, that shouldn't be a problem going forward. Senate just passed a bill, I guess, that no more daylight savings time or whatever.
You see that?
No kidding.
No, they're locking in daylight.
They're locking in daylight. What are we in now?
We're in daylight savings.
Right, so they're going to lock this in.
So it's going to be the normal time if it passes through the House and then the president.
There's a lot of important things going on in the world, as we talked about last night with JT Newton. By the way, JT Newton's doing a great thing, comedy night at the Hidden Pearl, and check it out. $20 on Friday, March something, 23rd, 5th, 25th. So yep, absolutely get in there, scan that code. Great time. Good comedians. He was on last night with Bremer and Jones, which is great. Since I started listening from WHIW to 216 The Net, I've experienced the loss of Mike Young, Ron and Pete. Yeah, right. No kidding. Yeah, those some great people. God rest their souls.
And then
And yeah, Mike. Oh, geez, yeah, I remember that. He's the guy who started the whole with Shay, the Sasanos. It slips me now. Anyway,
Yep.
I must have sprinkled powdered sugar. Yeah. Yep. Hey, how are you, JT?
Ada Hopkins is listening from Nebraska. So
Hey, Ada.
feel free to check
Welcome
in and
in.
say hi.
Hi.
Ada was, I think she knows this, my first crush like in second grade. She's the cutest girl in the room. Of course, we were in the same class from kindergarten through 12th grade. Good person. So Ada, thanks for checking in.
And smart move there, Ada. Not getting involved with that guy.
Yeah, that's
way to ignore. Yeah, good move. Yeah, Slang and Hope. That's it. Thank you. I appreciate that. Shayna says research into psychedelics is treating depression, showing incredible benefits. Any thoughts on that?
I don't really know enough about it. I've seen a little bit of it. I don't know. The idea to me personally it scares me a little bit, but I mean, if it's controlled and and tested and all that stuff, then I'm sure it could be something.
Well, I grew up in the 70s and I saw a lot of people experiment with them.
Yeah, right.
Well, and here's the thing: is the further down the timeline we get, the further down the timeline we get, the more we learn, right? And what we used to think perhaps was bad might be, wait a minute, here, take this mushroom and holy crap, you got some weird things going on in there, right? And it may just work.
Right.
There she is, Ada. Hi, how are you? She says, hey, how y'all doing? We're fine. You say she's from Nebraska?
She is.
Yeah. The N on those, the N on them football helmets stand for knowledge.
Nice.
This is what I put up. This is why I moved to Illinois, Ada.
All right. Anywho, so now again, I would be the guy. Would I be like, I really need to see some reports on that before I just take acid or something? I've never taken acid in my life or psychedelics. I have not, Coach. I'm sure you have. Being a hippie from the 60s in your Volkswagen
I was on the other
microbus. You and Cheech and Chong. But I would have to. I'd have to really. I don't know. I'm the guy. I'm not a real big drug fan altogether. Right. I don't take aspirin. I mean, aspirin's like my last resort if I have a headache or something like that. I'll go out there and do what Phil said, go hang on to a tree branch, go out barefoot and hang on to a tree branch and reground yourself and your headache will go away. I'm more apt to be that guy, and instead of, well, something's bothering you. Here's another thing. This is true. And my God, why didn't I think of this before? Is listen, if you want to do a mental detox right now, if you go to 216thenet.com, Lisa Eflin's put together 3 great self sessions.
Yeah.
She's a licensed hypnotherapist, and she's got 3 sessions out there. Each are $9.99, but incredible. If you want to be able to maybe unplug and maybe do a little mental detox, they're 3 for $9.99, or you can pick up the bundle for $24.99. Save yourself $5, right? I highly recommend those. I've gone through them. Of course, as I was producing them and doing things, but just amazing sessions.
Well, listening the other day, you kind of went under while the session was being recorded.
Yeah. So one of them, she's doing it, and I'm producing it, and so I just start I close my eyes, and we've got all the lights off in the studio because she gets into, she gets into this, and so I just catch myself, and I went under, and I was, and then my mind was just racing, and she had finished, and we use megahertz in the background to get your brain waves moving in the right direction. And finally I'm sitting there and my mind is racing, but I'm like, she stopped talking. And then she's starting to get up, and I'm like, I should open my eyes. So then I did, and she was walking across the studio. She's like, I was like, oh, gotcha. I was like, I don't know. I was waiting for her to say something else. Yeah. So it was really, really good stuff. But hypnotizing, right?
Hypnotist. Hypnotizes.
Yeah. If you have one of those sessions, Natural Therapy Wellness Center, listen, a deep tissue massage. You want to talk about ways to also reset your mind. I mean, Natural Therapy Wellness, www.mchenrymassage.com, 815-385-8190, has a house full of licensed massage therapists.
2 houses. Got one in Crystal Lake, too.
Right? And they do, I mean, you go there quite often.
At least 3 or 4 times a year.
Yeah.
Always, as I was coaching, I always went right before my coaching season started because I knew what was about to happen. I needed to be grounded to kick off the season.
That's it. So. Look at this lady. You must be talking about these two.
Nicole is absolutely awesome in doing. I was on her podcast, Impact and Inspire.
Changing paper clips into something.
She's up to a
house or something.
Does she have a house yet?
I don't know.
Well, she's at a $300 keyboard.
Yeah, I saw that.
So she's gone from a paperclip traded up to a keyboard.
Nice.
But she's also helping me organize a speaking event I'm doing. So
nice.
Nicole,
she is awesome.
Thanks for hanging out.
She's awesome. Hey, look at that. Our guy, Phil Wallace.
Phil.
That's it.
What's up, buddy?
Bridging Civil Tension, of course, on Friday mornings at 9. Phil also, if you visit Lalos, Lalos, he's got a great clothing line, Live a Life of Significance, and an award-winning author. The guy's brilliant, and he's sexy. So there you go.
He's sexy.
He's too sexy for his clothes. Oh, no.
No, he makes shirts. So he's not too sexy for that. So, hey, Phil, chime in. Nicole as well. And I know, Nicole, we're kind of right in your path, but we're talking about a mental detox. Is it a thing? What do you guys do to get that mental detox out and kind of create a new space in your head? What does she say there? And now it's a stripping show. Yeah, close.
Yeah, Mike is the star. So go ahead, Mike.
Melody, how are you? Great to have you with us. Thanks for jumping on board. So how do you, I mean, you guys, you just put new information in on top. I go out into the woods. What do you do?
I probably do a little bit of both of that. I love to get out in nature on my bike. I'll go for 2-3 hour bike rides out on the trail and just focus on nothing but keeping the bike on the trail. But I also,
and I want you guys to imagine he's got one of those 3-wheeled ones with the big basket on the back. No, he does.
And Toto sitting right there.
No, I get he's got a nice bike. Actually, I'm going to start doing that with you.
Yeah.
Nicole says outdoors. Definitely get outside. Mental detox.
Nice.
All right. So, do you guys sleep with your phones near your bed?
No.
You don't.
Separate room.
Separate room.
Yep. The phone is charging in the living room.
In the living room.
Yep.
All
Stays
right.
out of the
What
bedroom.
about you?
Mine's the alarm clock, but I put it on.
That's a great excuse.
Yeah, well, thank you. I appreciate it. It is a multitasking tool, but I put it on. I turn it off. There's no incoming anything. No, it's just laying there as an alarm clock. You can't power it off, but you can disconnect
you can power it off.
Well, you can, but then it's not going to wake you up.
No, the alarm still goes off.
Oh, does it?
Yeah.
And you don't have an iPhone. How do you know?
Everybody in my house has an iPhone except me. This one does the same thing. You can turn it all the way off, and the alarm will still go.
Really? I'll try that tonight.
Well, don't take my word for it. You might want to set the alarm and turn it off while you're watching TV or something.
But no, I put it into sleep mode. I don't.
Yeah.
I don't
Phil
take any
says same
calls.
thing. He's an audiobook guy. You
Yeah.
read the books. He says I do. I play in audiobooks.
Mhm.
So the mental detox really is again overloading the negative that's in there with positive.
Overpowering
I
it.
would hope that his books are positive. Right? Yoga, daily gratitude journal. That's
Well,
what you call your daily gratitude journal, or you actually practice yoga?
Well, she wears the yoga pants. I mean,
Most ladies do now. Yeah,
they all do.
That's not out of step for anybody. Yeah, most of them are positive, right?
Hmm.
Most of them too, Phil. I'm sure you're the victim in them, so that's fine.
Harry Potter.
Harry Potter.
Harry Potter.
It's very positive.
So how was your Harry
Well, you know,
Potter?
there's
Sorry about that.
you know, fantasy does have its place. I mean, it's great to read a lot of positive books, but
Yeah.
I'm an old time Tarzan fan. Edgar Rice Burroughs, in my mind, is one of the greatest authors of all time. There's 24 books in the series. I've read them all multiple times. When I want to get lost and just get away from the world, I go down and break out a Tarzan book.
You don't
Nice.
know. You want to know another thing that I do? If I can't, it was really between
Can this be said in public?
between November and April. I'm like a bear. I don't go outside. I hate the cold, right? So I'm like, I ain't going outside. But another thing I love to do here, and this is really, try this at some point. Because I hate crowds as well, right? I do not like crowds. But one thing I love to do is you throw in your ear pods or whatever, right? And just your favorite music. And then go walk downtown Chicago and act like you're in a movie, and that's your soundtrack.
Ooh, nice.
Because I get it is.
I think we need a video of this.
It's great because there's so many people bustling around and doing things, and you don't really have anywhere to go. And if you get off a train, especially during the weekday in the morning, and you're walking too slow, you irritate a lot of people.
Oh, that's true.
Right, you do. So I really, it's so weird, or I'll jump on the bike or go for a walk or whatever. But I sometimes cleanse just by listening to music, and I mean, depends what mood I'm in, right? Might be 90s country. I mean, it might go back and I might be playing the Fat Boys and Run DMC from when I was a kid, right? Or it might be Christian music. I can only stand Christian music so long, and then it all sounds the same, right?
They're getting to be a lot more eclectic these days. For a while, it was sounding all the same.
Yeah,
but there's a
it
lot
all
more.
sounds.
Nicole says, "Eye of the Tiger."
I hate that is the one song that I absolutely hate with all my guts. It is the it's been too overplayed, too thing. I mean, back in the 80s, yes, we did enjoy that. Like that was the deal. You're like, yeah, Rocky, let's go.
When I was emceeing Fiesta Days, Survivor was out here. The original producers
Look
of
at
Eye of the
that.
Tiger.
Hello, Nicole. I listened to Mike sing for Mental Detox.
Oh, and she's got the video too. I saw the video.
Yeah. Is that right? Give us a few bars here.
Yeah.
Me.
Yeah.
You.
You could close us out with the national anthem.
Yeah, the national anthem. He is. Is that an escape for you too? I mean, is that an unplug if you're just jamming or just sitting there?
If I'm by myself, yeah. I mean, if I'm doing it, then it's not a detox. Then I'm like,
Right,
you're
you're
battling
working
through
at
anxiety
that
and all
point.
that kind of stuff. Yeah, but by myself, yeah, in the car, yeah, I'd say so. Yeah.
Nice. All right. Yeah. No. That and let us know when your next gig is. Well, everybody will show up.
All right.
All the millions of listeners.
Going to open mic
Yeah.
at Hidden Pearl.
Yeah,
Let us
okay.
know.
All right, doing that.
I'll get up and follow you with a poem.
Literally, he would
Sounds
he
good.
would be
Let's
the
do it.
open mic at that point.
Oh,
All right. Sorry about that.
that's when he was on the couch with the psychiatrist.
That's right.
He was the open mic.
The open mic. So yeah, so I think there's a lot of things you can do to mentally detox or at least mentally replace.
We're down to that last minute, so let's.
two.
We're 3 or 15. It's your studio, but the point is, you said we were going to make an announcement at the end of the show.
Yeah, let's talk
and we
about that
probably should.
announcement. It's very exciting.
Some of you may remember a couple of
That's
weeks
gonna do
ago.
it for us, folks. Right now.
There it is.
There it is.
Dr. Breakthrough was on.
Yes.
But Dr. Breakthrough has agreed, I just had a conversation with him today, to be on once a month on the final week of every month to wrap up our month. We're going to stick to a topic
Yep.
pretty much for the whole month. the last show of the month. Dr. Breakthrough is going to come in.
It'll be the breakthrough episode of the month.
Breakthrough episode. He will be here, and if you haven't had a chance to see Dr. Breakthrough, Dr. Stan Harris,
Great guy.
it's a great guy, great knowledge, great information.
He's going to grace us. I think
He's
it's going to
gonna
be
grace.
fantastic.
Yeah,
I think it'll be
it
fantastic.
is. He's going to add a lot to the show.
Yep.
That's awesome.
She said she's bringing her keyboard.
All right.
Bring it
There you
in.
go. Hey, trade it up.
She's got to play it though this time. I
Trade
gotta
it for
see
a
her
coffee
back.
maker. That's what she's doing. She's trading it.
I think she had an espresso machine that she traded for the.
I don't know. I only saw a paperclip and beads from Saturday and a coolie and a pen. That's all I saw on TikTok. Yeah, I follow you on TikTok. I love TikTok.
Talk.
That's it.
Talk.
All right. So that's going to do it for this show. Remember to mentally detox. This may not be the show. Maybe it is for you. I don't know.
You've been listening to Two Bald Guys, and have a great night, everybody.
Promise here, 216 the net. Thanks for getting caught in the net with us. Be good to each other. We will see you around. Come back Friday morning. Got a lot of good stuff.
Friday morning, 7:30. The three of us back in studio.
For the grounds. We'll do it. We'll round it up. All right. Be good, y'all.